CAPSI podcast series, Conversations on African Philanthropy. After 2 years and more than 80 episodes of our Conversations on African Philanthropy, we are introducing a series of conversations that are theme-specific, program-focused, and at times recorded at the request of those at the coalface of implementation in order to document and tell their experiences and stories. In the first of such series, we focus on the Zimbabwe Alliance Initiative, whose grants, convenings, capacity building, and technical support have fostered a vibrant civil society, where partners were empowered to design innovative and coordinated responses that amplify the voices of those marginalized, influence the capacity of citizens to mobilize around national critical issues, engage with policymakers, and built regional and international solidarity in pursuit of a better Zimbabwe. Formed in 2010 to strengthen the role of civil society in influencing Zimbabwe's transition to democracy, the Alliance has evolved over several phases to what it is today. An initiative of several partners, Zimbabwe Alliance is a story of resilience, innovation, dedication, and passion expressed somewhat beautifully in some of the least expected places and ways.
Welcome to another special episode of our Conversations on African Philanthropy with me, Moyo. On this segment of the episode, we are reviewing the intervention called the Zimbabwe Alliance, a donor collaborative that was put in place around 2007, 2008, moving to 2009 when we had a government of national unity in Zimbabwe. The idea and the objectives behind the initiative were, one, to strengthen the resilience of civil society in a context of transition. Secondly, to provide a re-granting facility for a multitude of donors who were interested in such an intervention. It's been more than 10 years since the ZimAlliance Initiative was established. We are interested to track what has happened, what have been some of the successes, some of the barriers, and some of the developments that have happened over time. Clearly, something that was set up in 2008, 2009 would have gone through several pivots up to this day. I'm very excited to be joined this morning by Robson Chere. He is the National Secretary responsible for organizing for the Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe. Welcome, Robson.
Thank you so much for having me on this program as well.
Thank you so much for making the time. I want us to start maybe with you telling us a bit about what ARTU does and why it came into the scene.
Okay, thank you so much. So basically, Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe is a trade union organization which represents the welfare of teachers, actually labor rights, access to quality education in Zimbabwe, with a special focus actually on the marginalized communities in the rural communities. So Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe operates in now in all the 10 provinces of Zimbabwe. Initially, it was representing the rural provinces only, excluding Harare Metropolitan and also Bulawayo Metropolitan. But due to the nature of issues, the broader issues of education that we represent, teachers also in urban areas, those who are also associated with the upliftment of education, actually reached out and also requested for them to be included. So now I can simply say that Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe operates in all the 10 provinces in Zimbabwe with the specific purposes of the upliftment of education, especially pro-poor education policies. And it represents more than 35,000 teachers in Zimbabwe.
Right. And so what would be some of the programs that one would say, you know, if I go to ARTU, these are the 3, 4, or 5 programmatic areas?
In terms of programmatic areas, we focus on social policies in the education sector. We also monitor some of the policies that are already in place and see if also the authorities are adhering also to the to those policies. We also even offer other alternative policies also to the policymakers for them to be considered, which will be which will go a long way also in improving education, access to education as well. We also focus mainly on the teacher empowerment through the advocates for their salaries, better remuneration and conditions. We also put special focus also on the issues to do with the labor rights and also children's rights in line with educational rights as well.
Okay, great. And so, I mean, as you are saying, you are now representing even urban constituencies.
Exactly.
So, are you thinking of changing the name, or you will still keep to the rural element, or there's actually irony in it that the urban areas are almost the same now?
Yeah, I understand, but now it's only that the name is Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, because we are mainly biased towards rural education because of the differences. Rural education has been lagging behind. It might be in terms of infrastructure, it might be in terms of technology, all those things. But so that's where most of our bias is. But the inclusion of the urban teachers coming in also saw as the NEC and the decision-making board creating specific decks, a portfolio within even the structures of the union. So we now even in the national executive, with the national secretary for urban teachers and education as well. That's cascading also downwards to other lower structures. So the name is still there, but the integration of the urban is also captured in the structure.
So you've basically co-opted the two urban structures in a way.
Exactly, they are now operating even in the
So one would probably say, I mean, in this current context, and maybe even looking backwards, what are the key challenges that rural teachers face? I mean, you already mentioned infrastructure, them lagging behind, but what are some of the key? So some of them could be policy, some of them could be existential questions. But what are these things that teachers really face and you guys assist with on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, thank you so much. But what I can say is that the rural teachers face a plethora of challenges, especially compared to some of their urban counterparts. We start from even the working conditions in rural schools. Operating with schools which have got limited resources, it will be very difficult to deliver, because at the end of the day you have to improvise, but there are some of the learning materials that cannot be improvised. So if, for example, we now have we still have schools which do not even have electricity at the moment, but where IT is a compulsory subject. So teaching IT at a school where there's no power, there's no power source, it becomes a challenge. And this can even take us the reference even during the times of COVID. In terms of connectivity in our rural area, there's a challenge in terms of connectivity. So remote learning, when there was an impact of COVID during that time, learners who are in the rural area actually lost a lot compared to the learners who were in the urban area settings, because those who were in urban area could access online learning. But in the urban area, it was going to be difficult even to the teachers. So apart from that, teachers also are the issue to do with the limited learning material. We still have got issues to do with the infrastructure. I've mentioned it earlier on, but let me now emphasize about the issues of infrastructure. For example, an interesting case is that in Zimbabwe, there was a period where the land reform program was introduced. And when the land reform program was introduced, there was no planning in terms of schools, establishment of schools, but there was a population migrating into the new resettlement area, and also there was no schools that could cater for the population of learners that were coming in. So there was the introduction of makeshift schools, which are called satellite schools, and up to now we still have a lot of satellite schools, and those satellite schools are not yet even registered. They have not regularized. So it's just like, for example, it's just a makeshift tobacco ban, which has just been turned into a school. For that, teachers' accommodation, it's a challenge as well. You can see from the view that I'm telling you of a makeshift tobacco ban being a classroom. What more of the accommodation? And then even transport challenges. Teachers travel, for example, when we go to areas such as Bushu in Mash Central, such as Kotwa in Mudzi. such as Chendambuya, there will be 1 or 2 buses. And the nearest bank is in Moyo. Some will have to travel to arrive. So a teacher will have to be dropped by the roadside. And they have to travel a distance of 15 to 20 kilometers to school.
By foot.
By foot. And that's there's a challenge also in terms of transport. And also we can't override the issue to do with the remuneration. With all these challenges, because there is no a clear allowance, which you can say a rural allowance, which can also counter this. When someone is also in a not a comfort zone, there should be an allowance to cushion for that. For example, when our government ministries visit those rural areas, they get bush allowance. Which is way above, But for someone who is permanently residing there, there is no in the bush that they get bush allowance. There's no allowance for so the remuneration itself is not even enough. It's way below the poverty datum line. So this issue has actually affected the education sector, specifically to the teachers in the rural areas. And these are some of the issues that we also deal with them to the teachers that we represent, so that we bridge the gap between the urban education and the rural education. It might be in terms of the delivery and also in terms of the output. And we've been advocating for quite a number of programs also to the government. And we have been calling also for education equalization fund, which can be set aside to improve the status of the education sector in the rural area, so that it can also cope up with education in the urban area.
So I mean, when you're describing all of these things, one would then imagine that, given that you have a huge membership, I think you talked of something like more than 30-something thousand, but also that you started as representing only the rural constituencies. Now you have urban constituencies. So there's a lot of interest in the work that you are doing by the teachers themselves, including those that are in urban areas. It means there's something successful that you are doing. Maybe let's highlight a couple of those successes that you have achieved over the time.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, indeed. One thing that we focus on is not claiming victories as an institution as such, but we have got notable achievements that we've made over these years that makes also us unique as a union, and that it made us also people coming in requesting to be part of this organization on a daily basis. We can say that even to start with, we have been on the forefront in advocating for labor rights, the respect of the labor rights themselves in Zimbabwe. We have taken a number of cases in terms of litigation to make sure that the labor rights are respected in Zimbabwe. For example, we are saying that the Public Service Act that is used for the negotiating platform of civil servant salaries, of workers' salary, is ultra-vires the Constitution of Zimbabwe. So it's when this Constitution was brought in, there was the Public Service Act, the statutory instrument that has been used, but it hasn't been aligned. But we have been on the forefront also advocating for the alignment of those of that law, so that the negotiating platform exists, which will be beneficial to the teachers, which will also see teachers also taking part in these processes should be included. We have also advocated also for the Teacher Professional Council, which can actually regulate the functions and also the work of the education sector with the ministry, and they have great strides that have been put in place in line with that. Also, in terms of each year, we do put input, especially in the budget. In the budget proposal issues of our national budget to the education sector. So advocating for government actually our government is a signatory to some of the declaration, which makes it also necessary for it to allocate more education towards funding, but of late it hasn't been doing that. But when our coming in has been seeing us also inputting towards that, and also giving solutions. Like we say, no, we can take this amount. We already have a levy that is being taxed by government. Why can't we not put this tax towards aiding the government so that it can also comply with the Dakar Declaration, which it is a signatory for it to allocate 20% to the budget. So this we have been doing also this. There was also a time when I don't know what kind of economics that was being put in place by those in authorities, which chose to be irresponsible at that time, saying that our Zimbabwean dollar, which was a bond note, is now equivalent to 1:1. We are the only first union that started saying, no, and there is no such a way that you can say that you pick a fruit and you pick a stone and say these are the same thing. No, it wasn't like that. So we are the first union which advocates say, no, we want the salaries to be dollarized. Because at the end of the day, it is the teachers that are not benefiting. But at first they thought maybe some people or some of the unions that had already agreed, I can term them the yellow union to say that had been agreed with our employer behind. Started also seeing vision boards, which led a lot of advocates, with the work. Building conscience among the teachers and the education that no, this is not the right thing. But you can say now, right now, we know our salaries are way below the poverty line and they are not enough. But at least the government now even they've now dollarized some of these advocates work that we've been doing as well. So we have also inputted at policy level. We've also put input also in the issues to do with the empowerment of the teacher, and also even the issues to do with the learners in class, the access to education for our learners. We've been fighting on the forefront, fighting also for the government to make sure sexual rights for our girls in the school, making sure that there are sanitary pads that are also given to our learners in school. So these are some of the things that we've been doing, and we are doing also at Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union.
But of course, operating in an environment where the economy is not performing very well, politically there have been ups and downs. Clearly, you have had some barriers as an organization. What are some of those barriers? I remember, I'm trying to think who I was speaking to, saying that even though you have managed to get the salaries to be dollarized, but as a union yourselves, you are still not yet in a position to collect membership fees in dollar currency. And that is a challenge, because if you look at what has happened to the ZIG now, it simply means you are collecting less than maybe even $1 per member in terms if you were to do the conversion. So I'm just looking at that as one of a mini challenge, but obviously there are so many barriers that maybe you want to talk to.
Thank you for asking that as well. One thing that we would be frank with is that we are operating in an environment where trade unionism has been criminalized by the authorities. We are operating in an environment where every voice of reason has to be thwarted. So this has not spared the union, Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe. This has not spared the entirety of its own leadership, and also the members across the rank and files. So our members have been actually victimized through they've been charged. When we want to do an area of advocacy which is clearly constitutional and lawful, we've seen members being arrested several times. Teachers like having picketing, which is allowed by the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which is one of a trade union function. When you see that in terms of advocates, we've seen teachers being actually arrested. We have a group of 16 teachers that were acquitted sometime last month. We've been on a trial since the past 3 years. We also even us as leaders. I was released from the prison a month after being even abducted in the broad daylight at Robert Mugabe International Airport. When I was going for the philanthropy education, which feeds into the African agenda, which I was thinking that also I would benefit in the education sector and come also as a representative of Amalgamated Rural Union of Zimbabwe and feed into the national agenda. But at the end of the day, you have been victimized. We, as an institution, the government has also made efforts to make sure that they incapacitate the union, like you have highlighted. Our members subscribe, but for their processes within the public service that make it possible for them to subscribe, like they fill in the membership forms with the TY30 cessation forms, where they have to subscribe to the union so that the union can be able also to carry out its activities. But when we submit these cessation forms to the Salary Service Bureau, which is the one which operates the salary system of teachers, they won't process our papers from Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, because that they will be following the instruction behind the scenes that will be meant to cripple Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe. When members agree that no, we need to increase our subscriptions. We compile the resolutions or the minutes we send to the relevant authority, but they will not effect it, because they want to cripple the functions of the union. So these are some of the challenges that we face actually. That in terms of our operation, the capacity now as a union to do the internal function, unless if with some support also coming in for project and art, that can also now come in and help in some of these things. But the system has been on the forefront to try by all means to make sure that it cripples the function of Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe and its membership.
So talking about support, you have had obviously different supporters, developmental and otherwise, and one of them has been the Zimbabwe Alliance through Trust Africa. Maybe let's talk about the association that you have had with Trust Africa. Maybe let's start first with some of the support that you've had and your participation in the formulation of the Citizens Manifesto.
Trust Africa has actually played a very pivotal role in supporting the broader civic society space in Zimbabwe. But mainly from Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, what I can say is that even the coming of the ZimAlliance has actually provided a platform for it's a convening platform for the networking actually of the broader civic society. So you find Amalgamated Rural Teachers coming in on those convening platform that has been created by the ZimAlliance. We network with also other labor activists and also from other departments with the nurses there of trade unions. We also have other also organizations who do with economic justice. So that networking platform, we see that we discuss issues of importance, national importance. We see how even civic society can collaborate. But it is through these platforms that has been created through ZimAlliance. It also to come another issue that has also been very fundamental and important that has come in was the issues to do with capacity building as well, that has been provided by this process of ZimAlliance as well to institutions. It has also helped to Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe has been a beneficiary of this capacity building platforms. The leaders of Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, the institution itself, have benefited in quite a number of programs. It might be exchange programs, leadership capacity, a lot of capacity building program that has also been coming in. ZimAlliance has also been coming on also in terms of solidarity, this first just persecution that has been coming in. ZimAlliance coming in also to assist in that. So it has played what I can say a very pivotal role at that level, and also the built in and the coming in also of the Citizen Manifesto, which was also part of this projects that have been coming in. We Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe also participated in Citizen Manifesto. I myself, as representing Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, I was also appointed in the Citizen Cabinet, where the Citizen Cabinet that also was based from the Citizen Manifesto. So in that Citizen Cabinet, I was representing portfolio of education as well. So you see some of these policies that I've been saying, we could formulate them, we could present them, and offering solutions. That's one thing that I can say that has been fundamental. Apart from all these things, but the issue of solution-based engagements were coming out from this nature of gatherings and this nature of So this solution-based engagement saw us even going deeper into the communities, coming up with what we call community assembly, where citizens would gather, discuss, and come up with solutions-based solution. So I coordinated the Actuarial Community Assembly, where we engage in quite a number of activities. It might be of tax justice, it might be of empowerment in communities. So I can say that ZimAlliance, Citizen Manifesto, Trust Africa has played a pivotal role at the union level, at community level, and also at the broader civic society in line with the areas that I've highlighted.
So if resources were to be available, of course, everyone is operating now in a context where resources are dwindling. But if resources were to be available and a set of development partners are willing to support the ZimAlliance initiative, what would be the key areas that you would say, based on your experience of what you have been observing, but also in taking part in some of the initiatives, what would you think are the areas that they should prioritize going forward?
If resources permit, I would want ZimAlliance to maybe also keep more focus also in the investment in the areas of education. The areas that further also expand the areas of community outreach programs and community-based development work, in expand from the areas that you have been doing, going in more communities, because we've seen this being also helpful, and also in areas of even in institutional capacity development as well, of these organizations also. It will also go a long way in assisting in Zimbabwe.
So another thing that I probably want to get your input in is, so it sounds like to me that the role of organizing or movement building is very central to resolving some of the challenges, not just in Zimbabwe but globally. And having participated, in organizing the Actuarial community, what would you say what do you say are some of the key, functions of and importance of movement building? Because you were involved in that, but you are also actually involved in mobilizing teachers in terms of the areas that you are interested in as an association or a union. And you said that you were living in a country where trade unionism has sort of been banned in a way. But let's revisit the role of movement building. What is the importance of movement building in a context like this one?
It's movement building plays a critical role, especially under our circumstances, where the voice of reason, like I said before, is being tried by all means to be thwarted. So imagine when we have each and every institution speaking in its own issues in their own corners in their own corners there. It is easy. They can be thwarted in their corner, in their corner, in their corner. But when we have this voice, collective voice now, because these issues are interrelated. Issues to do with gender, issues to do with education, issues to do with disability. All these things that we are talking about, because at the end of the day, we have one nation. So if we have if we have a stronger movement that is birthed out of these issues that we are speaking with a voice which is very difficult to thwart. It's a voice that produces results.
Right.
So I would advocate for the movement building which is premised on a broader number of issues, especially cutting across all sectors, labor, cutting across issues to do, even the church, even also gender, all those things. So the role of organizing, we have seen this in relation, like we said, for example, in ARTU. You know how ARTU community assembly started? It was the former mine workers who were dismissed, but they still had their challenges in the labor. They still had their appeals in labor court. So it was around 120 families, and these 120 families were evicted from their houses, these former mine workers. But they still had outstanding issues at court with their employer. But they were evicted and they had nowhere to go. And most of these, when the mine were established, these old mines, it was still a federation. Mine workers were coming from Mozambique, some from Zambia, Malawi, some from Malawi. And imagine you've got 120 students, 120 families that have been evicted. Each one at their step, and with kids, and it was in winter. And these kids were supposed to be going to school, but now they are found sleeping in the open space.
My goodness.
Now, people, we assisted, me as also a person who is a worker representative. But in terms of solidarity, even if a worker is not a teacher, we offer solidarity. It's an injure one, injure all. So I also reached out to them. We discussed that these issues are affecting them, but they can also have voice of reason if they're coordinated together. And we reached out to, like Season Manifesto is one, we reached out. It came with support tents, and people were given tents, and also some food so that they can, for the time that they will be. And then from there, that's when we started organizing now as a collective now, getting representatives that will approach the mine, and then with the media team that will be putting their issues, also amplifying them in the media, up until they've been taken back into the houses. But besides that, we then establish a community assembly, which then birth issues, which then birth a community, an assembly that deals with the issues, other issues also that affects the communities, with the issues to do with artisanal mining. So, coming in, I'm just describing from a community level, but now having a movement at a national level, it becomes more impact. That's what I can say.
So the community assembly that you described, is it still active or is dormant now? Because my understanding so far, as I've been speaking to a number of colleagues, is that the citizens' cabinet, for example, seems to be dormant for now. Maybe due to resources or something else. I will be talking to BRICS and others as well to understand, because it seems like this was something that's very powerful. Everyone that I'm speaking to seems to be, prioritizing that as one of the most important interventions of the ZimAlliance. And as you are describing as well, this community assembly at ARTU, it sounds like something that the community needed. Is it sustainable? Is it still there? Is it still active? Or if not, would it be something that you would want, if resources were permitting, to resuscitate? And if it is resuscitated, how would you build in elements of making it sustainable beyond interventions like ZimAlliance?
Yeah, so thank you so much for raising that critical issue. The community assembly, we can say the people, everything there, but like the support that is needed, yes, actually also may actually slowed down the operation or the activities of the community assemblies. So it's an area that, if resources are there, it is a critical area that needs support. Why am I saying this? Because it's by the time that it was now functioning, it has gone also, the ZimAlliance had been also providing a platform not only for ARTU's community assembly, but it was now providing a platform for engagement also with other community assemblies that were facing similar cases. For example, with the Bindura Community Assembly, it was also born from the same circumstances. But when these communities were given this platform, it was very clear that the sharing of ideas also were helping also to this community. But in terms of for sustainability, what I think also other areas that needs to be looked at long-lasting projects that beyond even the funding or the support, the communities can carry in. So there are some projects that are practical that can be done. Like these are community mining communities. The areas also which can come in to do with even mining, registered mining claims are being registered. A group of community can register its mine claim, so that one way or the other, economically the community is active. Apart from economically active, they also have the support to carry the functions of what they want. For example, a community now with those projects, a community can come up with the project like lighting systems, solar system in their own project, and at the same time, with issues to do with employment. These people were talking about people who are not employed. So the moment they are becoming economically active, it is now coming in to cut on early child marriages, child-headed families, drug abuse among the youth, all those things. So I would advocate also for support if it's still, the option is still available through ZimAlliance, so that it can continue carrying this work and also ideas of self-sustenance projects coming in, so that the community also live beyond the expiration of the projects.
So Robson, let's probably end by getting to know a little bit about you. I mean, when people hear and follow somebody's professional life or activism, or in your case trade unionism, one would want to ask a question: what made you land in unionism, trade unionism for that matter? So that's one critical area. I ended up in philanthropy partly because when I was growing up, my mother wanted me to be a Catholic priest. I tried, but I couldn't go towards the end. So I left, thought I'd run away from it, but I found myself I'm still in a different priesthood, which is philanthropy, right? I love what I'm doing because of that background. In your case, what is it that landed you in trade unionism?
I grew up in a family. I have a rural background. My father was a peasant farmer, a polygamist. The only way to run out of poverty was through education. So, because I come from a humble background, so I had keen interest in terms of education. And so as a way also to change my life from the background that I come from. Because my father would barely make ends meet. Because you would wait for once a check every year. That is when he sold his crops. But that is when he got a bumper harvest. But when you're peasant farmers, it's
and when there's drought and all of that.
So I did my education in the rural communities. Also, I only came to the city after my level, where I was enrolled at a tertiary institution at Youthside Teachers College. So when I was at Youthside Teachers College now, I was elected to be the student representative council president, representing also students. When you are coming from a disadvantaged, already you are on a disadvantage, and you are getting also to those who have got means of everything, but the voice of those who are disadvantaged should be heard.
Should be heard as well,
So it was that background that pushed me into. So I was the SRC president at Youthside Teachers College. Post that, I was then deployed to teach in the rural communities, because I do need to serve in the rural community, so that I also uplifted the education, because there was also another child there who is in need. But if that child did not get that chance to be motivated, to be influenced, that child will remain trapped in those circumstances. So I proudly went to to serve into the rural communities in Mashonaland, East Province, in Goromons. And by the time I was deployed, that is when there was the introduction of incentive schemes. There was what we call incentive, where teachers in the urban areas were being awarded incentive by parents. So parents will pay school fees, and then on that fees, there is a 10 or 20% that will go
towards teachers.
And incentive because the government was saying was unable to pay. So imagine a teacher who is at Prince Edward, where school fees are being paid $800, $900. And a teacher who is at Gumbonzanda Secondary School, where fees are being $20. These are the teachers who went to the same college. These are the teachers with the same competence.
We have the same needs. They live in the same country.
And you find other teacher is now earning around $600, $700. And then the other teacher is still earning $20, $30 by that time, to say. From incentive as well. So that's when they say, no, the idea of having a trade union that speaks specifically to the issues to do with representation of teachers in the rural area. That is only not end on speaking to the issues to do with education for teachers only, but that will do also even to the access of education to the child who is in the rural area. You have to be created. So that's the idea which brought up the formation of Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe. That is what also ended up training me in trade union, which I don't regret, because I'm doing something that I really love by my conscience.
It's a legacy. It's a legacy project.
So
it is a legacy project. I mean,
thank you so much.
I mean, when you now link it to your upbringing and to your journey as a student and also as a teacher yourself in a rural area, and realizing the inequality that existed in the system, and then asking yourself and maybe with your colleagues, what can we do to close this gap, and forming ARTUs. That's a legacy project. There's no two ways about it.
Thank you so much.
I mean, of course, you were telling us that now you have membership that goes up to about 35,000
yes,
or
more
so.
Than that,
more than that. So already, I mean, I think we shouldn't really downplay some of the successes and achievements that our colleagues are making. That on its own, just taking care of the plight of a rural teacher, is an important one. I taught in Fatima myself before I moved on to do what I'm doing. I taught at Fatima High School. That was considered one of the best schools.
Yes,
somewhere between Victoria Falls and Bulawayo. It's in a rural setting, but actually the school is not rural itself. But I can relate to the challenges that you are talking about. Even though Fatima itself is one of the best schools in the region, but I could relate. I mean, the challenges we had with access, the challenges we had with maybe at times waiting for a long time for books to be delivered, etc., etc. Exactly. But also, comparing myself at that time with teachers who were in Harare or teachers who were in Bulawayo. We had access to almost everything, and we did not wait to go get a bus or all those things. But now go deep down in spaces that you are talking about, whether it's deep rural areas of Maswingo, Gokwe, and all of those places. So it's really a beautiful thing that you are doing, Robson, and we wish you the best, you and your colleagues, as you navigate the difficult political system and environment that currently persists in Zimbabwe. And hopefully, we have partners that will come on board and continue to support the work that you are doing, that of ARTUs, but also of other civil society formations. So I want to really thank you so much for taking the time and meeting us in reviewing some of the interventions that ZimAlliance has been supporting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor, for having me on the program. It was quite an interesting program and quite an educative, interactive process as well.
Thank you so much. That was Robson Chere, who is the National Secretary, who is responsible for organizing for ARTUs. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the CAPSI podcast series, Conversations on African Philanthropy.